Hello, creative people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Zenaida, and this is Fashion with Zenai, a place to inspire fashion lovers, to share my love for fashion and DIY projects. In today's video, I'm going to show you the process of making a gathered midi dress with a side slit. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the tutorial. For this tutorial, you're going to need the following tools. You can find all these materials in the description box down below. To create the dress, you're going to need a pattern. You can find a digital pattern of this dress on my Etsy shop. You can find the link in the description box down below. I used size XS to create the dress. If you're not sure about your body measurements, you can find a video on my channel on how to take your own body measurements. The link will be in the description box. The dress has 7 pattern pieces, 3 upper front pieces, 2 bottom front pieces, and 2 back pieces. Place all the pattern pieces on the fabric, and then you're going to add seam allowance. You can use a tracing paper and tracing reel to mark down the dart on the back piece. For the 3 upper front pieces, you're going to add 1 cm seam allowance on all the edges except for the fold line of the center front piece. For the bottom front pieces, you're going to add 1.5 cm seam to the hem and 1.5 cm from the gathered edge until the slit opening, and for the other edges you're going to add 1 cm seam. For the 2 back pieces, you're going to add 2 cm seam on the edge of the zipper seam line, add 1.5 cm seam to the hem, and on the other edges of the back and back lining pieces, you're going to add 1 cm seam except for the bottom edge of the back lining piece. And then you're going to cut out all the fabric pieces. Now you're going to start with the sewing process. Connect the 3 pieces together with the good side of the fabric facing each other. And you do the same for the lining fabric. This is how the upper piece will look like for the main fabric and the lining fabric. Now you're going to iron the seams flat. For the straps, you're going to fold it on the fold line and sew it with 1 cm seam. Trim the seam. This makes it much easier to invert the straps. Now you're going to invert the straps. I'm using a safety pin to invert the straps. Iron the straps flat for a clean look. Now you're going to connect the straps to the upper piece. Make sure the seam line of the strap is pointing to the right. Place the center of the strap on the seam line of the upper piece on the good side of the fabric. And you do the same for the other strap, but make sure the seam line of the strap is pointing to the left. Place the lining fabric on top of the main fabric with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Pin the upper edge. Sew the upper edge with 1 cm seam. Cut some slides around the curvy edge. This makes the curvy edge look flat once you invert it. Iron the seam flat of the curvy edge. Now you're going to invert the upper piece. For the front right piece, you're going to gather the slit edge from the first notch all the way up. I won't go into much detail on how to gather, but I'll provide a small example. Set your machine to the longest stitch length. On my machine it's 4. You're going to make 2 stitches. One stitch is 1/4 inside the seam allowance and the second stitch is 1/4 outside the seam allowance. Leave this part open between the 2 notches. And from this second notch, you're going to leave this edge open for the slit. For the left front piece, you're going to repeat the same steps. You're going to make 2 stitches from the first notch all the way up. From this second notch, you're going to leave the slit edge open. And between these 2 notches, you're going to leave it open. Sew the first stitch inside the seam allowance. Then you're going to sew the second stitch outside the seam allowance. Pull the 2 needle threads and gather. Place the left front piece on top of the right front piece with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Make sure you connect the notches on top of each other. Pin the edge. This is the slit opening. Then you're going to sew the edge with 1.5 cm seam from the top until the second notch of the slit opening. You're going to sew between these 2 stitches, which is the seam allowance line. Now you're going to remove the 2 gathering stitches. Finally, this is the seam allowance stitch after you remove the 2 gathering stitches. Turn the front piece over with the good side of the fabric facing up. Then you're going to iron the gathering seam flat. Overlock the edge until the first notch. Now you're going to connect the upper top piece to the bottom piece. After you determine the center of the top, you're going to place it on the bottom piece with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Pin the edge and sew it with 1 cm seam. Iron the seam flat. Overlock the edge. Now you're going to move on to the back piece. This is the zipper seam line on the center back. Pin the darts and sew it on the tracing line. Iron the darts line flat for a clean look. For the lining of the back, you're going to cut 2 pieces on interfacing. Make sure the shiny side of the interfacing is facing the wrong side of the lining piece. Then you're going to iron it. Overlock the bottom edge of the lining pieces. Connect the lining pieces on the back pieces with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Sew the edge with 1 cm seam. iron the seam flat for a clean look. Now you're going to connect the side of the back pieces to the side of the front piece. Place the front piece on top of the back with the good side of the fabric facing each other. And you do the same for the other side. Then you're going to sew the sides with 1 centimeter seam. On the dart line, you're going to cut some stitches so you can create an opening for the straps. Now you're going to flip the lining. You can cut out the corners in a triangle. Now you're going to connect the straps to the back. Make sure the seam of the strap is pointing to the side. I recommend trying it on yourself first to see how long you want the straps to be. Make sure the strap is pointing between the dart line. Then you're going to close the opening by sewing it. And you do the same for the other side. Afterwards, you place the zipper at the center back. I'm going to leave an open space for the zipper, and after the open space, I'm going to sew the edge with 2 centimeter seam. Now I'm going to attach the zipper to the back. Connect the good side of the zipper to the good side of the fabric. After placing the zipper, you're going to overlock the side edges. Overlock the back edges of the zipper seam. And overlock the front edges of the slit opening. Then you're going to sew the slit opening with 1 centimeter seam. And finally, you're going to double fold the hem and sew it with 1 centimeter seam. And this is the finished dress. I'm so satisfied with the outcome. The dress looks so beautiful and I can't wait to wear it. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video and find it helpful so you can create your own gathered midi dress. If you decide to create one, I would love to see a photo of your creation. You can tag me on Instagram by using the hashtag ZenaiDesigns. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, share, comment. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and hit the notification bell. I'll see you on the next video. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.